The prayer this morning will be offered to the good gentleman from Wycomico County when he gets to his seat.
Thank you, Speaker. Good morning, family. Is everybody awake yet? Good morning, family. All right, all right. If you would please, just for a moment, bow your head and join with me or in your own way as we pray together. Almighty God, we come before you blessed and grateful to be together, to do the work for our neighbors, to do as we say, give the people what they want. But this morning, I've been passed a message that I'd like to relay that we would like, as the House of Delegates, stand to support in prayer and family, the family of Brigadier General Janine Burkhead and her family as she lays her mother to rest from a tragic incident over the weekend. And so if we could keep the family in our thoughts and prayers as we move forward as one body, united for the people we serve. And everybody in this building says, amen.
Amen. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Thank you. She's got to roll through. Right. Mike. No.
Has everyone recorded their presence? Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. There being 124 members present, the House is now in session. The clerk will read the journal from the previous day.
Annapolis, Maryland, February the 15th, 2022.
Recognizing the Deputy Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So much to be considered the reading of the journal.
So ordered, petitions, memorials, and other papers. Consent calendar of introductory House bills, number 41. The clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 1394, Delegate Hornberger, House Rules.
Recognizing the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much to be considered the readings of House Bills 1394 through 1429.
Hearing no objections, the bills are read the first time and referred to the appropriate committee. The clerk will read the bond initiatives and the committee assignment.
Introductory House Bond Initiatives number 28, February 17, 2022, referred to Appropriations. Introductory House Bond Initiatives number 29, February 17, 2022, referred to Appropriations. Introductory House Bond Initiatives number 30, February 17, 2022, referred to Appropriations.
Message from the Senate, consent calendar, Senate bills introduced in the House. The clerk will read the first bill and committee assignment.
Senate Bill 25, Senator Cassidy, Judiciary.
Recognizing the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the reading of Senate Bill 25 be considered the reading of all the bills on the calendar.
Hearing no objections, the bills are read the first time and referred to the appropriate committee. Committee reports. Report of the Committee on Rules and Executive Nominations. Report number 2. The clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 289, Somerset County Elections, County Commissioners Districts, and Board of Education Candidate Filings. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 503, Montgomery County Board of Education Residence Districts, Ken Garden Neighborhood, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Special order calendar number 2. The clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 157, Vehicle Laws, Plug-in Electric Drive Vehicles, Reverse Parking Spaces, bill on second reading.
Recognizing the
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I have a few questions about the bill, so I was hoping to ask those questions to the floor leader.
recognizing subcommittee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Yes, sir. Good morning.
So my questions are, starting out, it looks like this bill, House Bill 157, provides for reserved parking spaces for electric vehicles. Is that true?
Yes. So if you think about when you're driving around and you see electric vehicle charging stations, it prohibits ICE vehicles or internal combustion engine vehicles from parking in those parking spaces. Yes.
Having a difficult time hearing you, I apologize. I know
I'll
it's
speak
the
a little more
mask.
directly.
So, does this bill apply to the parking spaces on public property and private property?
Yes, it does.
So, the bill applies to private property as well as public, whereby if you have a non-electric vehicle and you park it in a space reserved for electric vehicles, that there's a fine. What is the fine?
It's $100.
Did you say $100?
Yes.
Okay. And is there a similar fine for the electric vehicle parked in a non-electric vehicle space?
No.
Okay.
No.
On page 2 of the bill, it states a publicly accessible plug-in electric drive vehicle charging space shall be designated by a sign that meets the requirements of this subsection if the charging space was funded in whole or in part by, wait for this, any state funds, including the Strategic Energy Investment Fund,
That's before the amendments, sir.
or money collected from electric utility ratepayers.
That's before the amendments.
Well, I'm looking at it online. It's still in the bill.
Did you look at the amendments?
So what does the amendment do then?
It takes that specific piece out.
It takes out what?
That specific piece that you just mentioned about public funding. And these are.
Yeah, I can't hear you either.
It takes that particular piece out of the bill about public funding. And also, to be clear, these are for spots that are open to the public. So private property that's accessible and open to the public.
But isn't it true that the Strategic Energy Investment Fund, which is funded a number of different ways, but in particular by ratepayers in Maryland, and the taxes on public utilities and utilities in general are often used to build these EV spaces? Isn't that true?
I don't know how that's relevant to this particular bill because I don't know how that's relevant to this particular bill because, as I said, that part was removed from the bill in one of the amendments, so that's not in this bill.
Online, do you have an interlineated document showing the actual amendment incorporated into the bill? Because I don't see it.
It hasn't been printed for third reader yet.
It hasn't been printed for third reader. I mean, in the past, we've seen it on second reader, so it's been much more easy to understand, but I got it. I mean, that's a concern, by the way.
I understand, but I know originally you held the bill because you wanted a specific amendment.
Mm-hmm.
Can we talk about that amendment that you'd like to introduce? Do you
I
have an
thank you
amendment
for your
number?
questions. Thank you. Thank you for your answers, I should say. I'm not really sure they were answers, but I appreciate them. I do. Madam Speaker, I have an amendment at the desk. It's amendment number 293522/1.
Amendment number 1.
So much be considered the reading of the amendment, Madam Speaker.
So ordered.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, to the body, this bill, House Bill 157, provides for a $100 fine if you park your vehicle on private property and public property in an EV charging space. $100 fine. Pretty extraordinary. These EV charging spaces, believe it or not, are funded in large part not by the private sector, but by public funds. Public funds that come from taxes on your utilities, among other places. So while your constituents are paying record amounts of electricity bills, we got people in here that think that you shouldn't be able to park in certain spaces where there are electric charging stations and they get free electricity with their $100,000 Teslas. In Southern Maryland, we have an electric co-op called the Southern Maryland Electric Co-op. I was on the phone with them yesterday, Madam Speaker, and their energy costs at Southern Maryland Electric Co-op increased last month by 68%. %, which has to, by definition, with a co-op, be passed on to the ratepayers, the consumers. That's what a co-op does. And that's because of the destructive policies of the Biden administration and of many in this body. I'm looking at this bill, and I say to myself, it isn't enough that the guy with a $100,000 Tesla gets to park in the free space and get the free electricity, but now you get fined for it. You're paying for all that for him, and yet it never ends. And then you get your electric bill from your electric company and find out that it's higher than it's ever been. And they continue down this path, completely oblivious to what's happening to the working men and women, certainly of Southern Maryland, but also of the state of Maryland. So this amendment, Madam Speaker, very straightforward and principled. Any state or local elected official who uses a state-owned plug-in electric drive vehicle charging space to charge their personal vehicle shall reimburse the state for the electricity used. And if they're caught not doing it, they get fined $100. They get fined. So I'm not changing the intent of your bill. I'm just putting a friendly amendment on it and creating parity. Parity. Also, it's way over time, Madam Speaker, to create parity with this issue, because every session we see the same thing. The owners of $100,000 plus Teslas voting in for their constituents, and the rich of the state special privileges that everybody else not only doesn't have, but is paying for. And so I'd like to reserve my ability to get back up and rebut, but go ahead, John.
All right. Thank you for the amendment, Delegate. I wish we had had the opportunity to speak about this amendment before we're speaking about it specifically on the floor. With that said, if you look under your reprints tab in your House floor system, you can see the amendments that strike a lot of what you're concerned about. So those are the first couple of pieces. The second couple of pieces, I think it's really important to be accurate when you speak about electric vehicles. And so I noticed in the past and in now, there are very big sweeping generalizations that are being made about one specific car manufacturer. Those cars don't all cost $100,000. They actually cost half of that. So I think it's important that when we're talking about this, you should be current in what you're talking about. Also, those vehicles these owners have to pay for their electricity. Their electricity isn't free. When they go to a charging station, they have to pay for the electricity that they're using, that they're putting in their batteries. So I think that's really important for the body to understand as well. This is not some kind of subsidy for rich people, nor is it anything to do with really parity as far as the good delegate is concerned. If you want parity, if that's what you really want, delegate, then we should stop allowing gas-burning cars to park in electric spaces. So if you want parity, if you really want parity, then I think everybody that drives an electric car should feel free to go into a gas station and park their car in the middle of a gas station in front of a pump and walk away for an hour or two and see how that works out, because that would be parity. If you want parity, then why do we give $100 billion a year to the fossil fuel industry so that they can produce cheap gas? I could go on and on and on, Madam Speaker, but I think I've made my point. So the next point that I will make is that, well, just give me 1 second. Yeah. So I just wanted to, this amendment sounds extraordinarily familiar, delegate. As a matter of fact, I think this amendment was the essence of a bill that you had before Environment and Transportation last year. A bill with your name on it, a bill that this body passed. But I don't think you voted for that bill. I think you voted against that bill, if my memory serves. So I think that the Environment and Transportation Committee and Subcommittee worked really hard to make sure that we did what it is you wanted to do. And then when we got it out on the floor, there was a speech made and you refused to vote for the bill. So I'm a little concerned about why we would add an amendment to this bill that's essentially the same bill that you introduced last year that you voted against. So with that said, I would ask the body to resist this amendment,
Madam
as
Speaker.
we've already heard it. Thank you.
Maker of the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. For a point of order, I had an actual visual aid with me. There's nothing in the rules that says that I can't use it, yet I guess the Speaker and the folks that work for her had the police officer or the sergeant at arms confiscated from me off of the floor of the House. I don't see anything in the rules that says that is not allowed. In fact, there isn't. So if the parliamentarian can please let me know where it says in the rules you can't have a visual aid.
Thank you, Delegate. Oh, I'm sorry.
Recognize-
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the parliamentarian.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me follow the rules first and foremost. Thank you, Delegate, for the question. And to the entire body, I do want to remind everyone that rules of decorum are determined by the Speaker. It is very clear in our rules. And I would say that just as a matter of tradition on this floor, props and other types of unnecessary items, we need to be here doing the work of the people, debating using our intellect, debating using our passion, and props are unnecessary and a distraction. So I do agree with the Speaker on that matter. And once again, rules of decorum on the floor are determined by the Speaker of the House. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, here's the rule book. It doesn't say anything about that in the rule book. Okay? So that was all just made up for the people out there in Maryland.
I don't make up things.
Well, it's not in the rule book, though. That's what I'm saying. And I follow the rule book, and I respect the rule book, and I do read it, and I think it's pretty clear that I do. It's not in here. And so I just want to register my displeasure with the fact that having previously used a visual aid during redistricting, I'm pretty sure that the stinging is still there, which is why this is happening. And it's wrong. It's wrong. We're being silenced as a minority party, and if you're worried about our intellect, then let us speak. Let us speak freely. So, on the amendment, Madam Speaker. On the amendment.
On the amendment.
Yes, indeed. Which the visual aid was part of the amendment. All of the charging stations that are owned by the state of Maryland are not metered. The gentleman from Environmental Matters knows that. He knows that. E&T, they know it. This is part of the gaming of the system because they think it's okay to tax the poor deplorables in Southern Maryland with higher energy bills and vote in for themselves all of these special privileges for their own electric vehicles. And all this amendment is trying to do is to bring parity back to this issue, as I indicated before, namely that these individuals, when they use this electricity, which isn't metered, so they're getting it for free, and getting preferred parking spaces at the same time, while everybody else has to pay for their energy in the state of Maryland. So you have to pay for your energy, and then yet they get it for free from the state of Maryland, and now they're voting in for themselves special parking. It's too funny, I'm sorry. Special parking spaces. It's absurd, it's laughable. It's just laughable. And I think it's fascinating to me that I hear the same argument constantly from these individuals, that somehow they are more virtuous because of climate change, and you get to lose everything that you own.
Madam Speaker.
Because you have to actually pay for your own electricity
Point of order.
and the gas that you get. And so, Madam Speaker, the point of order is kind of absurd. I'm almost finished with the amendment. So I know the young lady.
Please complete your
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I know that some get triggered, and it's understandable, especially the young lady from Howard County.
Can you finish what you were planning to
Yes, Madam Speaker.
point you're trying to make?
You know, I would have finished a lot faster if I had the visual aid, so just saying. So the visual aid, ladies and gentlemen, would have shown an electric meter that isn't an electric meter that doesn't have any kind of credit card spot on there that the state owns. So in other words, it was an electric gas pump, EV charging station, as they call it in E&T, where there's nowhere you can actually pay or record your payment for reimbursement to the state of Maryland. So to me, Madam Speaker, this is pretty straightforward. At a time when the citizens of this state are receiving record energy bills, at a time when this body put an inflationary CPI automatic increase on gasoline years ago, making it harder and harder for the average person to work and live in this state, we have the special class in Maryland that gets special privileges and free electricity. And for all those reasons, Madam Speaker, I move the amendment.
Recognizing Subcommittee Chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. For all the reasons that we've already discussed, I would ask the body to resist this amendment. Thank you very much.
On the amendment. The question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Oppose? Roll call.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? The clerk will take the call. The amendment fails. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered for third reading.
Excuse me, Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the gentleman from Prince George's County.
I made a mistake. I'd like to change my vote from yea to nay on the last amendment.
Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Clerk will take the call. There being 130 members present, the House is still in session. Calendar of third reading House Bills number 1. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 13, Procurement, Discriminatory Hiring Practices, Debarment.
House Bill 13 is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate?
Madam Chair, excuse me. Madam
Recognize,
Speaker, I apologize.
recognizing the gentleman from Howard.
Okay. I just had
Gentlelady.
had a couple of questions to ask the floor or the maker. So as I understand it, which is the main thing, this bill would include a conviction on an employment law that an attorney would lose their license for that. Am I right? Am I reading it right?
This is for this is for procurement. So this would see that a company found guilty in a civil violation of the employment discrimination laws of the state or the federal government, this law, they would be debarred, as is already the case, using the same procedures
Whole bunch of stuff.
as for other violations.
Okay. Thank you. That clears it up.
Is there any further debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 129 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 13, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 17, Campaign Finance, Recurring Contributions and Donations Requirements.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 132 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 17, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 21, State Board for the Certification of Residential Child Care Program Professionals, Membership and Official Seal.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 132 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 21, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 32, Mental Health Law, Petitions for Emergency Evaluation, Electronic Record.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll. Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 132 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 32, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 37, Education, Educational Interpreter, Certification Requirements.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 127 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 37, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 55, Health Occupations, Nurse Anesthetist, Drug Authority.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 55, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 69, State Department of Assessments and Taxation, Real Property Assessments and Appeals.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate?
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the gentlelady from Howard.
You get rusty after not doing this for a while. I just had some questions of the floor leader or the sponsor.
Yes.
Floor leader.
I just wondered, there was some serious issues brought up by, I guess it was the State Department of Assessments and Taxation that had a letter of information saying that it might be in violation of the Maryland Constitution. Was that addressed in an amendment, or what did you all decide about that?
Yes, the other day I presented an amendment which struck that constitutional.
Okay, so it's fine with them now?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Is there any further debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 132 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 69, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading House Bills number 2. The clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 70, Court Strategic Lawsuits Against Public Participation.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 96 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 70, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 75, Maryland Agricultural Commission Hemp Industry Member.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 120 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 75, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 78, Discrimination in Employment, Reasonable Accommodations for Applicants with Disabilities.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate?
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the gentleman from Kent.
Could the floor leader please rise for a question?
Sir.
So in the committee, I voted against this bill, but could you just, for my benefit, just tell me what the bill does?
Well, this bill is basically just protecting the disabled, whether you're for it or against it. It's all it does is saying that an employer has to make reasonable accommodations to any known physical or mental limitation. There's no really big burden, and it also states that this cannot impose an undue hardship on the operation or the employer.
So I don't have a problem necessarily with helping people with disabilities getting
Sure.
employment, but could you just tell me whether NFIB or the chamber either supported, opposed, or were they silent on the bill?
There was no opposition this year because there was opposition last year for some prescriptive requirements that we took out to make sure the employers had a fair shot notice, and the way it's enforced now allows multiple times to correct.
Yeah. Thank you.
Madam Speaker, I'm going to support the bill. I think that after reading it, it seems like a fairly simple application of a responsible practice. So thank you very much.
Okay.
Madam Speaker,
Recognizing the gentlelady from Howard.
may I? Thank you. My first job as a lawyer was as an ADA lawyer. The bill came in when I did, or vice versa. What exactly is different about this bill than what is required under the Americans with Disabilities Act? I tried, but I couldn't see it.
That's fine. This codifies in Maryland law because it was already in case law and in Comar. We just want to codify it. It's statutorily applied. It's already applied under case law. We just want to codify it. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any further debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 116 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 78, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 92, Maryland General and Limited Power of Attorney Act, Assistance with Governmental Benefits and Programs.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 132 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 92, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 94, State Vehicle Fleet, Conversion to Zero-Emission Passenger Cars and Other Light-Duty Vehicles.
Is on third reading and final passage.
Madam Speaker.
Is there any debate? The gentleman from Southern Maryland.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Can the floor leader please rise? Can you explain what does this bill do as a requirement for?
Just requires the state, as they're purchasing vehicles moving forward, to purchase more EVs, to start purchasing electric vehicles. Requires the state to purchase electric vehicles moving forward.
So what is going to be happening with the existing vehicles that the state already has that are gas powered? Are they going to be accelerated, depreciated, so we're no longer using them? Because in the fiscal note, it talks about, the requirement to ramp up purchase of new vehicles by a certain date.
Right. So all the existing vehicles will just continue to be used until they eventually aren't.
But why are we ramping up costs? It says the cost increased to approximately $7.8 million beginning of 2026 to accelerate the purchase of these vehicles.
So a couple things. One is that the cost of these vehicles are amortized better than the cost of a gas vehicle. So a traditional gas vehicle that's already in the state fleet will continue to be used until it's no longer worthy of being used. When it's old and falling apart and the state gets rid of it, that's exactly what will continue to happen. So it won't change what the state has already purchased. This reflects purchases moving forward only, not anything that's already happened. So anything that's already been purchased is grandfathered in. We're not getting rid of it. The state will continue to use those vehicles until they're beyond their useful life cycle.
Okay, I appreciate you answering this question. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
And nobody did oppose the bill, just FYI. Thank you.
Is there any further debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 96 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 94, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 97, Work Group on Black, Latino, Asian American, Pacific Islander, and other underrepresented behavioral health professionals.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, clerk will take the call. There being 125 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 97, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 105, motor vehicles, operation when approaching stopped, standing, or parked vehicles.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 105 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 105, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading House bills.
Madam Speaker,
Yes.
before we move to the next calendar, my button didn't work on HB 94. I'd like to be recorded in the green, please.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from the Eastern Shore.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to change my vote on House Bill 55 to red.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from
Western Maryland.
Washington County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to change my vote on House Bill 78 to green.
Gentlelady from Carroll.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House Bill 105 to green.
Gentlelady from Howard.
House Bill 106 to green.
Gentleman from Talbot.
Thank you, Speaker. I'd like to change my vote on House Bill 75 to green.
Gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House Bill 55 to red. Thank you.
Gentleman from Prince George's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House Bill 105 to red. Thank you.
Gentlelady from Prince George's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My button didn't work. I'd like to be recorded in the green on House Bill 78.
Gentlelady from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to change my vote on House Bill 105 to green, please.
Gentleman from Baltimore County.
House Bill 78 in the affirmative, please.
Washington.
Gentleman from Washington County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to change my vote on House Bill 55 to red.
Madam Speaker.
Are there
Madam
any
Speaker.
further?
Madam Speaker, House Bill 55 from green to red.
Okay. Any further vote changes? Hearing none. Calendar of third reading House Bills number 3. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 106, Health Insurance Nonprofit Health Service Plan Board of Directors.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 106, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 118, Public Schools Student Attendance Excused Absences for Mental Health Needs.
The gentleman from Allegheny, Western Maryland.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Can the floor leader please rise? I have a couple questions, please.
Yes, sir.
So, number one, I was reading the sponsor's testimony, so I think you may know exactly what the sponsor said. But it said in the first paragraph, there's no secret that mental health illness remains an enormous problem among the current generations of students. Over 70% of teens say that anxiety, depression are major issues among their peers. House Bill 118 aims to help and tackle this issue by allowing Maryland students to take mental health days as an excused absence. And number one, I want to say that I 100% agree with that first paragraph, and I 100% agree that mental health issues need to be addressed through this whole country, much less the state of Maryland. But the fiscal note in the synopsis says, at the end, it says, a student who is absent due to mental health needs must meet with a school mental health specialist within an appropriate period of time after returning to school as determined by the local school board. Is that correct, that they do have to meet with the specialist?
Well, first, Delegate, I want to thank you for voting for this bill last year. It was a really great bill. And also, that piece was taken out and stripped out of the bill.
That part has been?
That part was amended out.
Okay. Well, then the whole point of me standing up is now gone.
Thank you, Delegate.
And where I was going to ask for a mulligan because I did vote for it last year, I could save that for another bill, Madam Speaker. So, thank you.
Is there any further debate? The gentlelady, where are you from? Somerset? Washington?
Washington County, Madam Speaker.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Floor Leader. Oh, thank you for standing. I just, point of clarity, kind of piggybacking off my good friend over there. Is the same required, the note, no, not the note, so coming back to school, meeting with the specialist, is the same required for a child who may have been absent due to, say, an asthma attack or diabetes or some kind of physical ailment?
Yeah, but that piece was taken out, Delegate, so it's...
That was taken out?
Yeah, that piece was taken out, so it's no longer in the bill, so you don't have, it doesn't, so it's null and void at this point.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just a quick question. I noticed that the Maryland Psychiatric Society has testimony in opposition to the bill. Were their concerns addressed?
Their concerns were not addressed, no.
Okay, so...
I would just note that I just disagree with their assessment.
Okay, so they're saying that the bill basically doesn't achieve the desired goals because there's not appropriate follow-up protocols in place for individuals who take mental health days. How would you respond to that?
Yeah, what happens when a student, in the bill, what happens when a student does come back to school, the administrators will provide them with mental health resources or anything they may need, giving them, make sure they know their opportunities that are available to them, depending on what their need is.
And
but they're not required to see a professional under the bill.
Okay, and they're basically saying that it's better for the student to be in school, except in very rare cases that require, hospitalization basically or inpatient treatment. And so this might be a pathway for individuals to not deal with life, basically. And they say that that would go counter to what recommended practice would be from their perspective. How would you respond to that?
MSDE and MSEA supports this piece of legislation, and if a student is going through depression or anxiety, they suggest that it's not appropriate for the student to have to be in the classroom. Right now, they don't have an excused absence if they wanted to take a day off because they're experiencing depression or anxiety in school.
Okay.
And if that depression or anxiety or trauma is caused by students in the school or administrators in the school, is that the appropriate place for them to be at the time that they're experiencing the anxiety.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Is there any further debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 117 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 118, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. I just want to remind everyone, if your button does not work, you must stand up immediately to let the clerk's office know immediately. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 119, insurance, annuities, non-forfeiture, interest rate.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 125 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 119, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 126, general provision, standard time, year-round daylight saving time.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate?
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the minority whip.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have a question or two for the floor leader, if I could.
Floor leader.
Mr. Floor Leader, you know, I'm a firm believer in the precept that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So what is it, other than changing our clocks twice a year, what is it that we're trying to do here with this bill? What's broken?
During the week of the change, there are emergency room visits, there are car accidents. That was the testimony that we received this year and last year when this bill passed out of the House. That the change in time is disruptive to people's schedules, and therefore to keep the same time year-round is beneficial.
Okay, so in the summertime, when the weather's warm, you know, it gets dark around 9 o'clock, you know, 8:30, 9 o'clock, something like that. And there is a statistical correlation that shows that, you know, when it gets dark earlier, that crime, the rate of crime increases. I mean, did you all take that into account when you considered this?
I think we were aware of it, but also felt that in the having it get dark later in the summer was beneficial in that regard.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Is there any further debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 108 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 126, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 148, criminal law, stalking, definition.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 132 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 148, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 153, criminal law, sexual crimes, repeal of spousal defense.
Is there any debate? If not,
Madam Chair,
recognize the gentleman from Baltimore County.
could someone please explain this bill to me? I'm not quite clear.
Certainly.
If a floor leader would please stand.
Yes.
Recognizing the sponsor of the bill. Floor leader.
Thank you. Yes, what this bill does is simply eliminate the spousal defense, and that is what prevents the prosecution of those folks who are spouses who have committed rape and other sexual offenses against their spouse. That's all this bill does. It evens the playing field so that regardless of your status, whether you be married or unmarried, you are now protected.
Madam Speaker,
Gentleman from Washington County.
if I could ask the floor leader a follow-up question.
Floor leader.
So as I read the fiscal note, it says that currently rape in the first degree and second degree, you can be charged under the current rules, even if you're married. Is that true?
That is correct, but that would have to involve force of some kind, threat of force. That is when that comes into play.
Okay, so this bill extends it also, I believe, to what, third and fourth degree offenses?
That is correct, it does.
And what are those type of offenses?
Those are the offenses where, for example, especially in fourth degree sex offenses, and what you hear oftentimes is, in this situation, it is where there is sexual contact without consent. Okay, so that's fourth degree. Third degree sex offenses are also similar, but just a little bit more contact involved. But again, those are offenses without the consent of the party that has been victimized.
So there's physical contact in third and fourth degree
That
offenses?
is correct.
But
That is correct.
it's a lesser degree than rape in
That is
first.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the gentlelady from Howard.
Sorry. Thank you.
No problem.
Has this been done in any other states that you've looked at that you know of?
I am not familiar with other states who have done this, but I do recognize the fact that here in the state of Maryland, we are about protecting those innocent folks who are victimized in situations involving sexual offenses. And so I would say we need to do something of this magnitude.
Well, I appreciate your passion, but I also know that marriage is one of the most complex relationships people enter into. And that's one of the reasons why the hate can sometimes be as powerful as the love. I think that this opens a can of worms, that we're going to have people coming into the courts to file suits against things that certainly are not things that are crimes. They're just disagreements between. It looks to me as though the exceptions are reasonable, and so I would urge a vote against this bill, but thank you.
Delegate, I appreciate what you're saying. However, we do need to give all folks the ability to prosecute predators, even if those are in their bedrooms, okay? And even if you are married or unmarried, you should have the same rights.
Is there any further debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
To explain my vote. Madam Speaker.
You want to explain your vote for the debate? Gentleman from Washington County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In common law in Maryland, it's already against the law to rape your wife. That's no question about that. It's against the law. But we're talking like fourth degree offense. I mean, you just pat them in the wrong way, they take it sexually inappropriately. That's marriage. Those things are protected in marriage. And this law gets rid of that. This is ridiculous. And that's why I'm voting no, and I encourage the body to vote no. Thank you.
Clerk will take the call. There being 125 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 153, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 208, Courts Payment for Jury Service.
Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 124 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 208, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed.
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the gentlelady from Howard.
May I change my vote, not on Bill 106 that we had not voted on at the time, but to Bill 105 to green?
What? Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Baltimore and Hartford.
To change my vote, Madam Speaker, HB 55 to nay. Thank you. Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from, I see you, gentleman from Calgary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to change my vote for House Bill 106 to red.
Gentleman from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House Bill 105 to green.
Gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House Bill 119, I'd like to be recorded in the red. I'm sorry, in the green. Thank you.
Any other vote changes?
Yes. Madam Speaker, yes, I need to change my vote on House Bill 97 to green.
Any further vote changes? Calendar of third reading, House Bills number 4. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 165, Education, Sexual Abuse and Assault Awareness and Prevention Program, Human and Sex Trafficking.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 165, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 166, Alzheimer's Disease and Dementia Council and Coordination of Services, Dementia Services Act of 2022.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 166, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 167, Commission to establish a Maryland Woman Veterans Memorial.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 130 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 167, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 180, Interstate Medical Licensure Compact, Sunset Extension and Reporting.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 180, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 182, State Procurement, Certification of LGBTQ Businesses.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 93 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 182, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 188, Acupuncture Licensure Requirements.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 129 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 188, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 195, Marine Contractor License, Authorization, Requirements, and Fees.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 130 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 195, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading House Bills number 5. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 155, State Board of Examiners for Audiologists, Hearing Aid Dispensers, Speech Language Pathologist, and Music Therapist, revisions.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 130 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 155, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 161, Criminal Law, Exploitation of Vulnerable Adult or Elderly Individual, Undue Influence.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 130 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 161, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 163, Public Information Act, required denial, sociological information and distribution lists.
Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 163, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 283, Vehicle Law, School Bus Safety, Occupant Capacity.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 283, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. The clerk will read the next bill.
House Bill 350, Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Enforcement.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 124 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 350, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 377, Maryland Automobile Insurance Fund, Installment Payment Plans.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 117 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 377, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 448, State Board of Cosmetologists, Licensees, Supervision of Apprentices.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 448, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading House Bills number 6.
Madam Speaker.
Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 209, Criminal Law, Unnatural or Perverted Sexual Practice, repeal.
Recognizing the general is on.
Madam Speaker, I apologize. My button didn't work on the last vote. I would like to be recorded as green on 209. No.
We haven't done anything on 209 yet.
448. I apologize.
No problem.
Thank you.
Okay. House Bill number 209 is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 121 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 209, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 220, Health Occupation State Board of Massage Therapy Examiners requiring license to practice and other revisions.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 131 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 220, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
House Bill 227, State Government Legal and Employee Holiday, Juneteenth National Independence Day.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 130 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 227, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 228, Public Service Commission rate suspension proceedings.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 129 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 228, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 246, Open Meetings Act, notices, closed sessions and minutes, retention periods, online posting, and public inspection.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 132 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 246, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 272, Intercepted Communications Penalty.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 95 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 272, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 278, Correctional Services Inmate Cost of Living Report, Maryland Correctional Enterprises Diversity Report.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 116 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 278, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 341, Public Service Commission reporting requirements.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 130 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 341, having received the
Madam Speaker?
constitutional majority, is declared passed.
Madam Speaker, apparently my finger is not working this morning. I would like to be recorded in the green on that bill.
Okay. 341, okay.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Baltimore and Hartford.
Thank you. I'd like to change my
Canada.
vote to red on 350, HB 350. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the gentlelady from Washington County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to change my vote on 105 from nay to yea.
Any other vote changes? Letters of reassignment. The clerk will read the letter.
House Bill 1238, reassigned to Economic Matters. House Bill 1270, reassigned to Judiciary. House Bill 1349, reassigned to Ways and Means and Appropriations.
Hearing no objections, the letters have been read and ordered journalized. That ends the work at the desk. Committee announcements. Appropriations.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Appropriations Committee, the full committee, will be meeting today at 1 p.m. We are having a joint briefing with Ways and Means Committee on the Accountability and Implementation Board and the Maryland Department of Education. And also, we will be meeting at 3 p.m. today for other bill hearings. Thank you.
Judiciary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House. The House Judiciary Committee will be meeting today at 1 o'clock for bill hearings, followed by a voting session, which will begin at approximately 6 p.m.
Okay. Environment and Transportation.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Environment and Transportation Committee will continue public hearings at 1 p.m.
Ways and Means.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Ways and Means Committee will meet with the Appropriations Committee for a joint briefing today at 1 p.m. We will resume bill hearings at 3 p.m. and we will have a brief voting session immediately following our hearings. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Health and Government Operations.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That committee will begin our hearings today at 1:30.
Economic Matters.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House Economic Matters will have bill hearings at 1 p.m. and remind colleagues in the chamber that Alcohol Day is Monday. Hearings start at 1 p.m. on Monday. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Rules. Anything on rules? Okay. Caucus announcements. Okay. Recognizing the majority whip.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, the Speaker will no longer be entertaining subcommittee announcements on the floor, so you have to check with your either your subcommittee chair or your committee or the website to make sure you know the appropriate time that those meetings will take place. Secondly, we're having a lot of vote changing and finger not working, and pay attention to really what you're doing and focus in, because it takes up time when you do that. And also be sure to hand in, since we had so many today, don't forget to give the clerk your vote changed if you changed your vote today. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Quite welcome. Recognizing the delegate from Washington County for Black History Month moment.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Sorry, I'm a teacher, so let me get my papers ready. Never a former teacher, always a teacher. Good morning, Madam Speaker, and to colleagues. Happy Black History Month to you. All right, so I want to share a story that I wrote that's based on innovative inventions by Black people. But before I do, I think we can all agree that Black History Month is American history. Blacks or African Americans have made major contributions to this country that helped us get to where we are today. Some of these contributions I'll share with you in a story I wrote called Hold Up, a Black Man or Woman Did That. It's Sunday night, and as a state delegate, you make your way back to Annapolis to settle in for the night at the hotel. You prepare for Monday morning and decide to iron your clothes. You take out your suit pants, suit jacket, your blouse, the iron, and reach for the ironing board. Hold up, a black woman did that. In 1892, Sarah Boone made additions to the ironing board that featured a narrow and curved design which made it easier to iron specific items of clothing for women. Boone's ironing board design transitioned us to the ironing board that we now use today. You're all dressed for the day, you grab your bag, and you head out the door to be on time for floor session that starts at 10. You consider taking the stairs to get some steps in, but you're running too late and decide to take the elevator. You push the elevator button, and the doors open. Hold up, a black man did that. In 1887, Alexander Miles took out a patent for a mechanism that automatically opens and closes elevator shaft doors. He created this patent because people had to manually shut the shaft door and the elevator door. If you forgot to do so, people frequently fell down the elevator shaft. Alexander almost lost his daughter due to she fell down the elevator shaft. His designs are largely reflected in the elevators we use today. It's 9:52 and you're running behind. You jump in your car and make your way through Annapolis to the State House. You look up ahead and you see the traffic light is green and you hope to make it through the light. However, a Sunday driver is in front of you. You get within a few feet of the light and it turns yellow. The person in the front of you slams on brakes, which causes you to slam on your brakes. Hold up, a black man did that. The 3 traffic signal was invented by Garrett Morgan in the 1920s. Mr. Morgan witnessed a bad car accident at the intersection in Cleveland, Ohio. He decided to expand the current traffic light system by adding a yield component to warn oncoming drivers of an impending stop ahead. He took the patent for creation in 1923, and it was given to him the following year. You finally make your way to the State House to park your car in the garage. You push the button to the elevator and the doors swing open. Thank you, Mr. Alexander Miles. You arrive to the floor session and Madam Speaker is ready to start the day and gavels us in. Some of you are still talking. So she speaks into the microphone with a strong voice. The House is in session. Hold up, a black man did that. In 1964, James E. West co-invented the electric microphone. Microphones are used often to help us communicate over distances and across large rooms. So the next time you sing karaoke, think about Dr. West. It's been a long week and it's time to go home to your family. You make the 1.5-hour trip to Hagerstown or wherever, and you're exhausted from the long week ahead, from the long week that you had. You're tired, too tired to cook, and decide to order out from your favorite restaurant. An hour later, the doorbell rings. Alexa, show the front door. Across your Alexa screen, on your home security system, you see the delivery guy with dinner. Hold up, a black woman did that. African-American nurse Mary Van Britton Brown created a security system for her home because she was often home a lot. Miss Brown invented a system that used a camera that could slide and look through the 4 peepholes in your front door. She and her husband took out a patent for 3 years later in 1969. Home security systems commonly used today took various components from her design. Lastly, you sit down to eat your dinner with your family. You ordered some extra rolls from Texas Roadhouse. You get out the butter from the refrigerator to eat with your rolls. Hold up, a black man did that. In 1891, a gifted black inventor, A.C. Richardson, invented the butter churn. Richardson's device consisted of a large wooden cylinder container with a plunger-like handle which moved up and down. The movement caused the oily parts of the cream or milk to separate from the more watery parts. In doing so, it allowed for an easy way to make butter and change the food industry forever. In conclusion, 3 years later, Richardson patented the casket lowering device. It consists of a series of pulleys and ropes or cloths which ensures the coffin is lowered evenly. This invention was very significant at the time and is used in cemeteries today. So be careful with those buttered rolls so you don't have to use Mr. Richardson's other invention. Though these facts were presented in a humorous fashion, it's Black history. It's our American history. Where would we be today without these inventions? I'll tell you where. We'd be ironing on our bed with wrinkled clothes, crashing our cars at the intersection on the way to work, walking up several flights of stairs or falling down elevator shafts. Speaker Jones would have to yell across the room to get our attention. We'd have to peek through the blinds to see who's at our front door, and those rows at Texas Roadhouse wouldn't be half as good. Happy Black History Month to all of you. Let's continue to celebrate what makes us more common than different.
Quorum call before adjournment.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their presence? Clerk will take the call. There being 128 members present, the House is still in session, recognizing the Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House stand adjourned until Tuesday, February 22nd at 10 a.m. for a regular session.